I would just like to announce that the Publications Board has voted on next year's Vortex editor and assistant editor, and it is bittersweet for me to actually pass my editor-in-chiefmanship to my assistant editor. Sarah Faye Wilson will be the editor-in-chief next year. And I know she's going to do such a fantastic job because she was so fantastic this year, so can't even describe. And her assistant editor next year will be Lisa Ference. Ference, right? Woo! Yay, Ference! Oh, and the assistant editor, Lisa Ference, is going to read now. She's going to be our last reading. Sarah's going to be the last reading of the night after Lisa, so we're sort of passing, passing the torch.
I'm having a little bit of an oh shit moment, realizing I have to share this with people. I think it's probably been said that there is always some truth in humor, and I think when we're really lucky in life, we can find some humor in our truth as well. So that's kind of what the story's about. It's called Dodgeball for the Gifted. I love feeling smarter than other people. I know this sounds bad, and I know I shouldn't say it out loud, but it's true. Like so many things in life, however, I can honestly say that it is not my fault. It's the fault of Mr. Lindsay, my 6th grade social studies teacher. In 6th grade, I was one of those awkward, chubby, ugly little girls, much like the ones that I often see in Walmart now, thinking to myself, oh honey, I am so sorry. And this affliction, if you will, was very traumatic. 6th grade was the time of dodgeball. That horrible game that started with the pretty popular team captains choosing the most athletic, capable kids in the class, and ended with me, fat and disheveled, sitting on the gym floor after having been pounded in the face with that awful little red ball, wishing we had played foursquare instead. I was always picked last, or at least close to last, as admittedly, there were those in a more desperate state than myself, those who had been cursed with headgear or corrective Coke bottle lenses for glasses, and this was less than great for my self-esteem. Enter Mr. Lindsay, an intellect not unlike myself, who undoubtedly chose to teach the 6th grade social studies so that he could, in his free time, write a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel or craft a dissertation on the indigenous tribes of South America, while dreaming of the day when his name would be uttered during my acceptance speech for the presidency. An intellect who, in his quest for social equality, leveled the middle school playing field by holding a weekly social studies bee in his classroom. Now this game I could play. Instead of a hard rubber sphere being launched haphazardly at kids with corrective orthopedic shoes, there were questions flying around, and they weren't easy. They were questions that required critical thought, a concept that escaped many of my freshly permed classmates with their perfectly tight-rolled jeans. Most of you are probably too young to remember that bad. And it was for this reason that I was consistently the first to be chosen for teams. This was perhaps the first taste of superiority I ever had. Oh, Mr. Lindsay, how I loved that man. From that point on, I understood that my intelligence and somewhat quick wit was like kryptonite for stupid people. They may have had that feeling of acceptance that I secretly longed for so desperately, but they couldn't spell acceptance. Hell, some of them couldn't even spell. I, on the other hand, had begun reading Robert Cormier, a voice for all pubescent outsiders, and had accepted my misfit as being poetic. I was a poetic misfit. How romantic. If ever I felt threatened or someone deliberately attempted to isolate me, I was fast to throw a verbal dagger in their direction. A little blonde boy named Robert Robert used to call me Thunder Thighs. While this admittedly set my cheeks on fire with a quick heap of tears, instead of becoming a complete emotional wreck, I always managed to get out a few words regarding the incestuous relationship that his mother must have had with his daddy uncle in order for him to turn out so stupid and misshapen. Although more often than not, my intellectual jabs were misunderstood, there was a strange satisfaction in realizing that although Robert had no idea what I had just said, he knew that without question it was not good. He would just stare at me like a dead in headlights. It was beautiful. This self-defense mechanism was quite effective in helping me to survive puberty. And I feel sure that somewhere out there, Robert is sitting in a dark room asking himself if it's odd that his mother called her brother honey, and why his daddy doesn't love him as much as his siblings. Yes, I'm sure of it. As I outgrew ugly, I mellowed a bit, settled into social circles that appreciated my attention to grammatical detail, and eventually stopped verbally assaulting the intellectually challenged. This personal growth, however, in no way changed my love for feeling smarter than others. If anything, it just challenged me to listen more closely to the universe, seeking out the stupid like a Pied Piper for those with low IQs. In restaurants, on television, while drinking coffee at Starbucks, if there is a less than smart conversation going on, I will hear it, and mark my words, I will laugh out loud. Recently, I was doing my weekly grocery shopping, obsessively walking aisle to aisle, seeking out the lowest cost on each individual item that I had on my list, while refusing to sacrifice quality or value. As I was comparing packages of steamable sweet corn, these two ladies, both donning hairdos that screamed "kiss my grits," and wearing cut-off shorts and Budweiser tank tops as I remember, although the latter part may be a fabrication, it is highly unlikely that they were both wearing Budweiser t-shirts. One might have said Marlboro. They both joined me on the frozen food aisle. As I continued obsessing over which frozen vegetables to purchase, one said to the other, "Did you know there was a ban on Mexican food?" "Oh shit, really?" her friend replied. "Why's that happening?" "Well, I don't know, but I've been to 3 different grocery stores this week, and ain't none of them got no Mexican TV dinners." To which her friend, with an astonished look of disbelief, replied, "Oh shit, something bad must be going on." I could not make this up. These people really walk amongst us. Yes, it is me. I will probably go to hell, but I laughed. And what is worse, I felt a little bit better about the 15 pounds I've gained in the last 2 years. But that's just one example, and there are always more. Like this pretty little girl, for instance, that sits next to me in my astronomy class. This particular young lady thought that the sun orbited the Earth being the center of the universe. When in an attempt to help her out, I assured her that in actuality, the Earth orbits the sun, and the Earth is not the center of the universe. She looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Now how do you know that for sure?" I told her that she was right. What was I thinking? I laughed to myself and went on with my day. The thing is, everyone likes to feel smarter than others sometimes. This is evidenced by television, now littered with the mind-numbing, reality-based programs that literally showcase the stupidity in our society. It's like a freak show out there that leaves me wondering if mass groups of people drank bagged Kool-Aid or something. But America watches anyway. Why, in simple terms, these people make us feel better about ourselves? Even on occasion, I, while sitting on my couch in my self-righteous smarty pants, have fallen victim to the entrancing stupidity of the Jersey Shore. For its anthropological value only, of course. When searching for a self-esteem pick-me-up, one must look no further than a monologue from Snooki, one of the show's many endearing characters. Though she will never be a part of a think tank, her occasional trips to the drunk tank, paired with her charming lack of intellect and very large breasts, apparently make her a national treasure of sorts. America doesn't love her, we just love that we are not her. And of course, she makes us all feel smarter. Now, if others refuse to admit this, that's fine with me. I am comfortable enough with my various neuroses to accept that I have this problem, this complex disorder, intellect. And these days, I make a conscious effort to keep my smart in check. In the rare case that I speak down to someone or make them feel less than adequately equipped with knowledge, it is purely accidental. I don't set out to make others feel stupid, it just happens, like bananas go bad. I buy a bunch a little underripe so they last a little longer. I eat one to satisfy that insane banana craving, and then they rot on my kitchen counter, and I'm like, what the hell? I just bought those bananas. Such is the feeling that people must have as they walk away from my assault on their intelligence. It's not their fault, it's just bad bananas. None of this is to say that I am smarter than people. I certainly am not in most cases. I just have a way with words. Others have striking blue eyes, chiseled upper bodies, amazing natural abilities, or old money. I have a thesaurus and I know how to use it. This is my special gift, crafting sentences that work out well most of the time. If I find a little joy in the fact that I have this ability that some others may not, if I get a little kick out of the fact that some random person thinks that the Louvre is a place where you get your oil changed, or that my old neighbor, and this is no lie, thinks that Mississippi is the capital of Alabama. Is that really such a large infraction? After all, I give money to the poor, and I never kick dogs or yell at small children who scream in restaurants. Besides, everyone who loves me makes it their personal mission to make me feel stupid. For example, feeding on my naivety, my father once told me that in his spare time, Leonard Nimoy is a gifted architect. Believing that since my father, mi padre, my dear old daddy, passed me this information, it must be true, I went on thinking, and this is the truth, that every building he and the rest of my family pointed out to me on various family car trips as a Nimoy treasure was just that. This continued for some time until one day, finding it hard to speak on the topic with a straight face any longer, my dad finally explained to me that he and the others had been duping me for a long, long, long time, and that it was ridiculous for me to ever believe that Mr. Spock built skyscrapers when not on the set. Devastation quickly set in as I realized that this was sure to go down in the family record book, score one home team. I have to say, however, that I was more disappointed with the fact that Leonard Nimoy was not actually an architect than anything else, especially since William Shatner moonlights as a composer. Wait, that is true, right? Sure, this mistake was more misplaced trust than stupidity, but there are plenty of examples to choose from, like when I was in junior high and had to take this test to assess my degree of intelligence for the gifted program. When asked what direction the sun set in, I responded east, an answer that all but got me kicked out of the program for which the test was being conducted and is brought up by my father until this day. I can still hear him asking, when cowboys ride off into the sunset, are they really headed east? Do you really think that they're headed east? I've thoughtfully considered this question more than once, and I think that the answer is yes. Yes, I did think they were headed east, perhaps to Mississippi, Alabama. Also, I thought that self-deprecation was actually self-defecation well into my 20s. It made sense to me to shit on oneself. It was quite embarrassing to have a professor point out to me in front of a class full of people that this is not the proper term, but certainly made for an unforgettable moment for them. Had I not scoffed at so many of their collective analysis of Shakespeare, perhaps not as many of them would have asked me repeatedly for the remainder of the class if I had shat on myself lately, which, by the way, I had not. The point is that at times I am stupid too, and I often find the most pleasure in laughing at myself. After all, if we can't shit on ourselves, what fun is shitting on everyone else? Although it's definitely comforting to feeling smarter than other people from time to time, as I often feel I don't measure up in so many other ways. I love even more when I'm outsmarted, as perhaps this is an indication that overall the world is more intelligent than I give it credit for. Perhaps among the Snookies, there are more girls longing for a good old-fashioned social studies bee than I realize. Perhaps there is hope for people like me after all.